My engagement party was canceled because I threw a deviled egg at the groom. It hit him right between the eyes, dead center. The silence that followed was so thick you could have sliced it with a cheese knife. My mom shrieked like I'd just confessed to murder. Aunt Lorna gasped so hard she nearly inhaled her wine glass. And Brad? Brad looked like a disappointed insurance agent whose biggest regret in life was proposing to a woman with decent aim and zero tolerance for BS. I'm Tessa, 26, emotionally bankrupt, sarcasm-rich, and not in the mood to be auctioned off like a prize goat just because my family can't resist a good merger by marriage. It all started 3 months ago, when my mom decided my uterus was officially past its expiration date and needed to be fast-tracked into reproduction. Enter Edward. 33, looks like an AI-generated politician, uses words like synergy and legacy, and thinks therapy is for people who failed at being normal. I didn't like him. I told my mom I didn't like him. Her response? Oh, honey, love is a luxury. Stability is the prize. Then she handed me a wedding binder the size of a microwave and said, pick your color scheme. Edward likes navy. Edward liked navy. I like not being slowly suffocated by a man who thought women were most attractive when quiet and deeply in debt to his generosity. So, I started plotting. Subtle acts of rebellion. Showed up to family dinners in Doc Martens and a crop top that read, no uterus, no opinion. Made sure Edward saw me order whiskey, rare steak, and tell the waiter I didn't believe in splitting the bill if I didn't invite the man. My mother turned purple. Edward looked vaguely aroused. I vomited in my mouth. Still, they pushed forward. My mother invited everyone to our pre-engagement celebration under the guise of networking. My dad, who stopped making eye contact with me the minute I said I didn't want to marry a walking trust fund, just stood in the corner nursing a scotch and pretending he had no daughter. So, I did what any self-respecting woman does when her entire existence is being shrink-wrapped for resale. I weaponized the hors d'oeuvres. One deviled egg, a perfectly calibrated arc, and a lifetime of pent-up resentment later, Edward was wearing yoke, my mom was screaming something about therapy bills, and I walked out of that party like it was a runway, one heel at a time. The fallout was nuclear, but it wasn't the worst part. The worst part came 5 minutes later when I saw a message from my sister that read, Mom's not mad, she's just replacing you with someone who'll do it. Think fast. That's when I knew. This wasn't over, and I had one shot to burn it all down properly. You're not ready for what happens next, trust me. The next morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls, 2 voicemails from my mother sobbing like Meryl Streep in a made-for-TV drama, and one text from Edward that simply read, you embarrassed yourself, but I'm willing to forgive you. No punctuation. Not even a question mark. Just the smug assumption that forgiveness was his currency, and I should be honored to receive it. I laughed so hard I choked on my toothpaste. Then I remembered what my sister had said. Think fast. By 9 a.m., my mother had shown up at my apartment. I knew it was her because no one else rings the doorbell like they're trying to alert the dead. I opened the door with a spoon still in my mouth and a sarcastic, well, if it isn't the matchmaking mob boss. She pushed past me like I was just some sad broom she tripped over. Tessa Lynn Holbrook, what in God's name possessed you to assault your fiancé with a deviled egg in front of the CFO of 3 Fortune 500 companies? Technically, I said, spoon still in hand, he wasn't my fiancé. He hadn't even proposed yet. And it wasn't an assault. It was a warning shot. She ignored me. Classic. You have embarrassed this family. You humiliated Edward. His mother called me in tears. She said this might affect his reputation in the yacht club. I blinked. Is the yacht club where he stores his soul? She didn't find that funny. You are 26, single, and have a communications degree you're not using. You should be grateful a man like Edward even looked at you. Ah, there it was. The golden mantra of every woman who gave up on herself at 22 and decided to hand the reins of her life to a man with a Rolex and a superiority complex. I took a deep breath and said the one thing guaranteed to trigger a total systems meltdown. I'm not marrying him. I'm not marrying anyone. And I'm definitely not doing it to boost your retirement portfolio. Her face did something I can only describe as thermal implosion meets Botox paralysis. You don't mean that, she hissed. This isn't just about you. This is about the family, about our name. I think the deviled egg already took care of the name part. She stormed out, shrieking something about family disgrace and, you'll regret this when you're 40 with cats and no eggs left to throw. Honestly, not the worst life plan I've heard. But then 5 minutes later, my sister Clara called. She never calls. She voice notes. The kind of person who believes phone calls are medieval and offensive. Tess, she said, panic laced under every word. You seriously need to check Mom's Facebook right now, and I mean now. I opened the app. My jaw dropped. The post was already up. So proud of my youngest daughter, Clara, for stepping up where others have failed. Excited to announce her engagement to Edward Whitmore. She's always been the stable one. One picture. Clara, looking like a hostage in a silk dress, holding Edward's hand in front of the same floral arch they used at my non-engagement party. She was smiling, but her eyes were screaming. This was war. I didn't even realize I had crushed my phone until I heard the crack, right after I screamed into the universe like a woman possessed by a demon and 10 years of family trauma. If there was a neighbor brave enough to knock on my door and ask what was going on, I didn't hear them over the sound of my brain catching fire. Let me recap. My sister Clara, 23, soft-voiced and hardwired to obey like a Roomba with abandonment issues, was now engaged to the man I had just deviled-egged into oblivion less than 24 hours ago. I stared at the Facebook post for a solid 5 minutes, blinking like someone who'd just been tasered mid-jog. The comments were already pouring in. Oh my goodness, so beautiful. Meant to be. We always knew Clara was the one with grace. Tessa who? Tessa who? I hadn't felt that gutted since I caught my college ex cheating on me with our RA, who then told me I was the one making things awkward. But this was different. This wasn't just heartbreak. This was strategic character assassination served on a satin pillow. I called Clara. She didn't pick up. I texted, "Tell me this is a joke, or I swear I will light your bridesmaid dress on fire while you're still in it." Read, no reply. At exactly 3:14 p.m., she sent me a single message. Mom says it's for the best. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. I laughed, out loud. A dangerous, unstable laugh that probably made my upstairs neighbor wonder if I was boiling a rabbit. Then I got a call from Edward, because apparently I hadn't suffered enough in one lifetime. "Hello, Tessa," he said, calm as ever, like he hadn't been baptized in yolk the night before. "I trust you've seen the update. Edward, I swear to every deity that exists, if you say one smug thing, I just wanted to say I forgive you. I know emotional outbursts aren't uncommon for women under pressure. No hard feelings. No hard feelings. No hard feelings. My blood pressure hit numbers that should have been fatal. You manipulated my family, proposed to my sister less than a day after I rejected you, and now you're playing the benevolent saint? What's wrong with you?" He actually had the nerve to chuckle. "You weren't right for the role. Clara is. She understands what's at stake. This isn't personal. It's just alignment." I've heard drug lords speak with more humanity. I hung up. Then I screamed into a pillow until I saw stars. By midnight, I was halfway through a bottle of red wine and an emergency call with my best friend Cassie, who said exactly what I needed to hear. "Burn it down, Tess. Burn it all." She wasn't being metaphorical. She meant the wedding. She meant the plan. She meant revenge. And for the first time in my entire life, I wasn't the one being dragged by the family train wreck. I was going to drive it, straight through the aisle, with fireworks. 2 things happened the next morning. First, I woke up on my living room floor, still in yesterday's hoodie, clutching a now empty wine bottle like it owed me child support. Second, I found a gold-embossed wedding invitation under my door, like some kind of royal decree from Queen Petty herself. My mother. The envelope wasn't even sealed. Just slid under the door like a passive-aggressive threat wrapped in ivory cardstock. The venue? Our family's country club? The same place where I once spilled hot chocolate on a senator's shoes and was grounded for embarrassing our bloodline. The date? Exactly 4 weeks from now. Which, by the way, is a psychological war crime. 4 weeks. That's not a wedding. That's a hostile takeover. I didn't go nuclear, not yet. Instead, I went to the cafe down the block, the one with the crooked sign and the world's most judgmental barista who always spells my name Trisha, even though I correct him every time. I needed caffeine and perspective. Maybe a plan that didn't involve arson. Cassie met me there, sunglasses on, hair in a bun that screamed, "I'm about to get us both arrested, but make it fashion." She slid into the seat across from me like a secret agent delivering classified intel. "Okay, first question," she said, unwrapping her muffin like it was a bomb. "Are we crashing the wedding with drama, receipts, or interpretive dance?" "I'm thinking quiet sabotage," I said, sipping my coffee and trying not to imagine Edward's smug face on the cup lid. "Something classy, strategic, mildly illegal but hard to prove." Cassie nodded slowly. "You've grown." The truth was, I didn't want to destroy Clara. Not really. She was spineless and scared, yes. But she was also just another pawn in the Holbrook family chess tournament of emotional manipulation. The real queen? My mother. And she was 3 steps ahead, smiling behind every fake compliment and networking brunch invitation. So I went home, sat down, and made a spreadsheet. Yes, a spreadsheet. Categories, guest list, leverage points, weak links, secret allergies. I wasn't just going to fight back. I was going to audit their lives. That afternoon, Clara finally called. Her voice was small, but not guilty, not shaken, just rehearsed. "Tess, I really hope you'll come to the wedding. I mean it. We can still be sisters. We can still be sisters," I repeated slowly. "Even though you volunteered to be the understudy in a proposal you knew was scripted for me?" She didn't answer. "You know what, Clara? I'm not going to fight you. I'm not even mad at you." A long silence. "Really?" she asked, cautious. "Nope," I said, and smiled. "I'll be there." Because what Clara didn't realize was this. I wasn't just going to attend the wedding. I was going to rewrite the ending. The first person to flinch was Aunt May. She dropped her mimosa when she saw me walk into the Holbrook family bridal brunch, wearing black leather pants and a shirt that said, "I object, just not in court," in glittery block letters. The second person was Clara, who went pale, like someone had whispered tax audit in her ear. "Darling," my mother cooed, like I hadn't been publicly disowned via Facebook post just days ago. "You came." I took a sip of my orange juice like it was laced with poison. "Well, how could I miss the celebration of true love and carefully orchestrated betrayal?" She smiled. "Let's keep things civil, shall we?" "I'm always civil," I said, "especially at funerals." The table went silent. Clara gave me a pleading look, one that said, "Please don't ruin this." But I wasn't here to ruin anything. I was here to watch it unravel all by itself, and maybe give the threads a little tug. Halfway through the meal, Edward arrived, late and polished, with that smug Wall Street gleam like he'd just shorted someone's self-esteem. He kissed Clara's cheek, greeted my mother, and then turned to me like a priest about to forgive a sinner. "Tessa," he said smoothly, "you look dramatic." "Thanks," I said. I figured one of us should dress for the emotional weight of the occasion. He laughed, like I was a child performing for attention, like none of this mattered, like I hadn't been the original fiancé until he pivoted faster than a corporate rebrand. I leaned forward, lowered my voice to a velvet whisper. "I hope you know that when this explodes, and it will, I'll be the one holding the matches and the insurance policy." His jaw tightened for half a second, a crack in the marble. Then came the moment I didn't expect. Clara stood up. "Excuse me," she said quietly, then bolted out of the restaurant like she was about to puke up the future. I followed, obviously. Found her in the alley behind the place, heels off, crouched near a trash bin like some tragic rom-com heroine who just realized the villain had better lines. "I didn't want this," she said, not looking at me. "I didn't mean to take him from you." "Clara," I said gently, "you didn't take him from me. He was never mine. He was Mom's idea of an upgrade. I just refused the firmware update." She sniffled. "She said if I didn't step in, you'd throw away everything the family's worked for." "And what's that exactly?" I asked. "Social climbing and unspoken resentment?" She laughed through the tears. "Pretty much." I crouched next to her. "You don't love him," she hesitated. "I don't even like him." Then we just sat there, two sisters in a trash-scented alley, hiding from a life neither of us wanted. That's when she said it. She gave me a prenup, said I had to sign before the rehearsal dinner. I blinked. "Wait, Mom gave you the prenup, not Edward?" Clara nodded. She said it was just a formality to protect the family legacy. And just like that, I realized, this wasn't about love. It was never about love. This was a hostile family merger with emotional stock options. "Clara," I said, rising slowly, "I need you to send me a copy of that prenup." She looked confused. "Why?" "Because I think it's time we see what happens," I said. "When the golden daughter finally starts playing dirty." Clara sent me the prenup at 3:42 a.m. A blurry PDF scanned crookedly, as if even the printer was too ashamed to be involved. I opened it in bed, one hand clutching a bag of pretzels, the other scrolling through paragraphs that read less like a legal agreement and more like a hostage negotiation, written by someone who thinks emotions are a liability. Here's what the prenup said. Clara would forfeit any claim to Edward's assets if the marriage ended in divorce, infidelity, or public scandal. But here's the kicker. She also waived her right to anything from the Holbrook family trust if she left the marriage before the 3rd anniversary. Let me repeat that. If she bails before the 3-year mark, she walks away with nothing. Zilch. Not a dollar. Not even a thank you fruit basket. It was a contract for servitude dressed up in legalese and floral stationery. I texted her immediately. "Please tell me you haven't signed this." She replied, "I did. Last week. Mom said we'd work out the details later." Of course she did, because to our mother, contracts weren't agreements. They were control mechanisms. And Clara was just another asset to be leveraged. By sunrise, I had 3 tabs open. One for prenup loopholes, one for legal aid referrals, and one for emotional support cat memes. I wasn't even mad anymore. I was focused, sharpened, emotionally caffeinated by years of neglect and just enough therapy to make me dangerous. I showed the contract to Cassie later that morning. She spat out her latte. "Okay, this is straight-up psychological warfare," she said. "Your mom's running this wedding like it's a Ponzi scheme." We were in her kitchen, surrounded by legal pads, highlighters, and a murder board-level diagram of everyone in the Holbrook family and their most exploitable secrets. Claire had finally agreed, hesitantly, tearfully, but sincerely, that she wanted out. The problem was how to get her out without losing everything, and that's when the idea hit me. "You're not breaking off the engagement," I told her over FaceTime that night. "You're going through with it." Clara looked horrified. "Tessa, no, I can't marry him." "You won't have to. We're going to make him leave you." A pause. "How?" I grinned. "By making you absolutely unbearable in the most strategic, reputation-destroying way possible." She blinked. "Like sabotage? Like emotional self-defense with a twist of chaos. But what if Mom finds out?" "She won't," I said, pulling up the shared Google Doc titled Operation Bridezilla, "because she's too busy managing the optics to notice we're tearing down the foundation. We had 4 weeks. 4 weeks to flip the power dynamic, protect Clara's future, and dismantle a wedding being weaponized for social gain. Step 1. Clara starts acting weird, like crystals in her purse, casually talks to birds weird. Step 2. She questions Edward's financial choices in public. Bonus points for using phrases like late-stage capitalism and ethical divorce planning. Step 3. We leak subtle hints to Edward's ultra-conservative mother that Clara's really into open relationships. Step 4. Well, you'll have to wait for that one. Let's just say it involves a reception, a projector, and a carefully edited video montage titled, "Edward, this is your emotional wake-up call." The best part? Clara finally smiled. A real one. The first I'd seen in weeks. She said, "I think I'm ready." And I said, "Good. Because we're not just going to crash this wedding. We're going to exercise it." Edward's first visible crack appeared during the third cake tasting, when Clara announced, loudly and with disturbingly specific conviction, that their wedding cake needed to be gluten-free, dairy-free, dye-free, and made with moon water collected during a waxing gibbous. Edward blinked. "Is moon water FDA approved?" Clara shrugged and smiled serenely. "It's what my spirit guide suggested." The baker looked ready to commit a crime. Edward looked like he was rethinking everything. The sabotage escalated quickly. At the floral consult, Clara requested only flowers that mirror the fleeting decay of capitalism. At the bridal boutique, she rejected every gown in favor of a floor-length velvet robe she described as witch-adjacent. Edward tried to object, but Clara pulled out her trump card. My body, my vision. By the second week, she'd started carrying a tiny bell she rang whenever Edward said something condescending. "You don't really believe in astrology, do you?" Ding. "I'm just saying, it's not logical to..." Ding. "You should probably talk less in meetings." Ding, ding, ding. Meanwhile, my mother was spiraling. She couldn't outright panic. Holbrooks don't panic, we just schedule more brunches. But her texts started sounding like corporate press releases wrapped in desperation. "Clara seems off lately. Maybe a wellness retreat." Edward's mother is concerned. "Why is Clara wearing feathers now? Please fix this before the rehearsal dinner." Oh, we were fixing it all right. Then came the critical blow. Cassie, working under her usual cover as accidental eavesdropper, overheard Edward on a phone call outside his gym. "She's changing. I don't even know who I'm marrying anymore. This is becoming a PR nightmare," he hissed. "If I pull out now, the Holbrooks will flip. I need an exit strategy." Boom. We had him. The man was looking for a way out. All we had to do was give him a reason big enough to run. So we launched Phase 4, Doubt, with a side of scandal. Clara began casually mentioning an ex-boyfriend named Sage. Sometimes Shaman Sage. Sometimes DJ Sage. Occasionally both. She spoke about him with misty-eyed fondness, the kind that makes any fiancé question the timeline. Edward was rattled. He started arriving late to events, arguing more with Clara, whispering with my mother in tense corners. And then, it happened. 3 weeks before the wedding, Clara texted me one line. He called it off. We won. Sort of. Because 10 minutes later, my mother showed up at my apartment. No warning, no text. Just fury wrapped in Chanel. She didn't speak at first. Just stared at me like I'd ruined her stock portfolio with a single tweet. Then she said it. "I hope it was worth it." I didn't flinch. "It was never about worth, Mom. It was about not being sold." Her silence was louder than anything she'd said all year. But this wasn't the end, because she wasn't giving up, and neither was I. The invitations were canceled. The florist backed out. The family group chat was nuked into silence. And somewhere between the third passive-aggressive Facebook post and the flaming wreckage of our family reputation, my mother decided it was time to go nuclear. Clara was free. Edward had fled. The wedding was off. But Mom? Oh no. She wasn't done. She was rebranding the failure. She started telling people I had sabotaged the wedding out of jealousy, claimed I'd always wanted Edward and couldn't handle being replaced. Told her charity board friends that I had deep emotional issues stemming from father absence, which is rich, considering Dad lives 6 blocks away and just sends me memes now. But that wasn't even the worst part. She tried to have me blacklisted from the family trust. You read that right. I got a call from our crusty old family attorney, Mr. Reynolds, who sounds like a haunted fax machine and breathes like he's allergic to youth. "I've been instructed to begin discussions about altering the distribution terms of your inheritance, Miss Holbrook." I laughed so hard I choked on my protein bar. "Instructed by whom?" I asked, already knowing the answer. He cleared his throat. "Your mother believes you've demonstrated conduct unbecoming of a Holbrook heir." Conduct unbecoming. For protecting my sister from marrying a sociopathic startup bro and becoming a Pinterest martyr. I told Mr. Reynolds to tell my mother I'd see her in hell. Then I hung up and called Clara. "I'm done playing nice," I said. "You were playing nice?" she asked. Fair. That night I posted the entire story online. Not names, just facts. A fictional family saga in 8 parts, complete with wedding sabotage, spiritual awakenings, and a prenup that belonged in a dystopian novel. It went viral in 24 hours. The internet did what it always does. Divided into camps. Half the comments were like, "Tessa is an icon." The other half were, "This is why families break." And somewhere in the chaos, a local podcast messaged me asking if I wanted to do an episode titled How to Torch a Toxic Wedding with Style. Mom called at 2 a.m. She didn't yell, she didn't even sigh, she just said, "I hope you're happy." I didn't respond right away, because I wasn't happy. Not really. Not yet. But I was something better. I was free, and so was Clara. That weekend, we took the money Clara would have wasted on that cursed wedding and booked flights to New Orleans. No phones. No drama. Just two sisters eating beignets and laughing like we hadn't been raised in a political campaign disguised as a family. Final update? Mom's still pretending we don't exist. Edward's reportedly dating a girl who owns 6 ferrets and calls herself a moonpreneur. And me? I sleep like a baby. A very petty baby. Wrapped in peace, unbothered, and with exactly 0 wedding favors in my closet. The end. And no, Mom, you're not invited to my future.